sometimes you pick up a book, especially a textbook, and you think, oh, okay, some academic wrote that. Here's a topic, the stages of teamwork, forming, storming, norming, performing. Put that in your notes, put it into your head, because this is real stuff. I'm telling you, I was really jaundiced when I first saw that. I thought, well, that's cute. It's got 4 words with ing at the end. Wow. And I rolled my eyeballs on it, except I have seen this time and time again to see exactly what's going on. It took me about the 4th or 5th team that I actually could see the time we did the storming, and then we started calming down and norming. And then within a few months, we were performing as a high-level team. I've led a lot of high-level teams, and you have to go through this process, and we're going to talk about this process. This works. Okay, you got an academic issue here. You have to know this for your test. You have to know this if you're going to survive and be some type of a leader in your organization. Even if you're sitting in a chair, you'll be able to sit down there and watch this happening. So let's talk about it. The forming part. Lay out everything. And this depends on the team, how much communication you have. You have to talk about different things. You have to come up with an agenda format. You have to do this, you have to do that. The storming. Eventually, and usually within the first 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 meetings you have, you're going to have somebody sit down and say, and you will have storming where people are defining their territory. Well, you shouldn't be telling me what to do over here. And sometimes you shouldn't. Then you say, well, here's my perspective on it. I hear you talking, except the problem is that and a lot of times a good team will go through a good storm as everybody starts going out, laying out their turf and what their job is and what they expect you to do, while you turn around and tell them right back. And storming time is not one where you sit back and pretend you're a wallflower, just quietly, everything else. No, this is when you open your mouth and you speak your mind as to what's going on. By the time you're done for the forming, storming, you'll be able to have a high functioning team. That little bit of conflict you go through just depends on the leadership style. That conflict will help you to be able to sit down and trust the person, because you've already had it out. You've already defined who's doing what and what their expectations are of you and yours of them, and you handle that. And all of a sudden you're norming, and within weeks, all of a sudden you're performing. First of all, you're performing well, and all of a sudden you'll have the super high performing team, and people come into the meeting and are looking forward to the meeting because we get stuff done. And you may not use the word stuff, could be something else, but we get stuff done. And you take a lot of pride in that, a lot of pride from everything from celebrating birthdays to just hanging out afterwards, going to lunch every once in a while. You'll actually develop real relationships, and sometimes you don't. Just depends on how it's going. So you pay attention to the 4 stages: forming, storming, norming, and performing. In the informal rules, you need to have some way to regulate behavior. Sometimes you have to sit down and write the rules out, what's supposed to happen in the meeting. If you have a lot of problems with it, improve your performance, pay attention to the norms, improve the predictability, look in areas and deal with the conflict, because in the future, once you know what the problem areas are, you can avoid them. That word sets that person off, or whatever that may be, or that area, but talk it out. Routinize the behavior. I don't think routinize is really a word, but it's here. Anyway, with a minimum amount of cognitive effort. The norms. Select team members on their preferred values and their past behavior. State what you're expecting when you're forming the teams. Ongoing coaching of norms of team members. Bring them together and talk about the team leaders, what you want them to do. And disband the teams with dysfunctional norms. I've had a couple times where I had a search committee, and I had a search committee with 12 people on it, and they're supposed to be interviewing the person for this major role within one of the colleges, and they're all talking, and one faculty member brought in a newspaper, and they're physically reading the newspaper during an interview. The chair of that committee, I told the chair, I said, you can't be a chair anymore. I kicked that faculty member off. I barred it from any future meetings, and we reconvened everything. And we actually had to go back and apologize to the person and re-interview them, that person actually got the job eventually, but regardless, that person was rude. That's a dysfunctional norm, and you shouldn't expect that. The team member should have corrected that immediately. Didn't do that. Boom, they're gone from being a team leader. The person on the committee that misbehaved, they're gone from any future ability to serve on teams like that. So set behaviors of people they're expected to perform, make certain you reinforce positive behavior. Roles, there's informal roles and formal roles, make certain that the team is performing. And if you see things going awry, do not be quiet, make some noise on it, what the expectations are. But when you do, listen, because there could be some good logic as to why they deviated from that norm. So make certain the task is there, have some cohesion. You want to sit down and have people enjoy themselves. So the more similar you have, if you have all accountants on the team, you're going to have a lot of similarity, but you want to make certain you don't isolate the person from manufacturing or the person from marketing there, because they may feel left out in the process. So make certain they're included. Try to keep it small. Frequent member interaction, sometimes formally, sometimes informally, and make certain your team is successful. And if you have some outside competition, make certain that you're there coaching them to success on that. On your high, here's some traits of high cohesion teams, the ones that stick together. They maintain the same membership. They achieve objectives as a group. They share information more frequently. They break down those barriers because they're trusting each other, because they've gone through the forming, storming, norming, performing process, and they get to trust each other. Trust is not something where you take a pill and all of a sudden you trust that person. Trust is something that's developed over a period of time based upon past performance. If you and I met, and we never talked, I would have no idea who you are, and I would be hesitant to share interpersonal feelings about it or the task or a reliance, just like you would be with me. If I sat down and we had 4 or 5 meetings together, I could see how you talk, I could see how you think. All of a sudden now I would begin to trust you. If I go through 8 months of meetings, I would be able to trust you as far as my knowledge base of you, and that would probably be very positive. But the reality is that it takes one misstep, and all of a sudden, all the trust you earn is gone. So pay attention to this, because this team cohesion thing is all about building a level of trust. Trust in teams, we have different levels. One is called calculus, based upon the fact that you really kind of calculate what's going on as to how far that, well, if this person did this, okay, I can get by with that. So you're looking at what price you would miss if they really messed up. The knowledge base, and then identification base, it really, to some extent, is a matter of, I know who you are. And that's a big deal. Sometimes there's people that you really know who they are, and you can't give them much trust because of who they are. Sometimes there's people, you know who they are, and you know you can trust them to get something done. Those are the people you end up picking up the phone and saying, boom, can you do this for me? And they respond and they get it done. And all of a sudden your world's better because that fact they're alive and you know them. Sometimes you have to immediately trust people when people join the team, because you need to have them functioning right there, and you make it clear what you're expecting out of them. A lot of times the mental models, you hold similar images and expectations about the team. I like to sit down, if you have a new team, outline what your expectations are. I've used paper sometimes, and I've skipped it sometimes, just making certain the agenda is clear. Sometimes you have a mental model that's unique, but other people are comfortable with it. It depends what you do. A lot of times that team mental model, it improves the coordination, lay out the expectations. One major thing that I've done, I had a college district, and we had 17 different district-wide teams between multiple colleges. And you go into a meeting and the agenda would look physically different. You would have different parts of it, and you might have all the parts. We standardize how an agenda is supposed to look. We standardize how we take attendance. We standardize how we did minutes. And the format was exactly the same on all of these teams. What ended up happening now, people come in and they can actually see, oh, this is this. We're going to talk about this. Okay, here's this. And we formalized the process on each committee, and they all look the same. You eliminated that brief confusion of 5 to 10 minutes while they try to find their place on the agenda and the minutes. Those type of things start having everybody moving together in the same mental model is a big deal. Be successful that way. Team building, there's different types of teams. It depends what you're doing, but on team building, set a goal, solve problems, clarify roles. That will help a lot on the forming, norming, storming, performing, interpersonal relationship. And a lot of times you can go through and work the process to make sure everybody is accountable and everybody is on the same page. Forming, storming, norming works. It can have up to 3 years to have a well-functioning team. And trust, you want to go from that calculus is, okay, I got this is my job. I'm going to watch them over there, all the way to identification based, because you know who they are. Teamwork is fabulous. You have to work on it. It is not born naturally. Teamwork is founded by serious work of trying to build a team and make sure you have solid communication and cohesion, and try to reduce conflict and get people to communicate at the deepest level to get the best work done. Take care.